I just want it bust on my neck, BBS on my teeth. Pull up on a nigga with a scope, make him shake hard. 97 bullets left in this AR. Jump man, 23, play hard. Sweet ass nigga, you belong in the gay bar. I took your bitch and I fucked her face hard. Niggas talking tough, we pull up to your boulevard. We 50 deep and we brought like 10 cars. Guns on deck and we don't got gun cards.
Hey yo, what's going YouTube, man? It's your boy Rock, coming back at y'all with another video, another banger. Y'all know I get down, man. Hey, look, them coming at y'all with Cjdachamp, trial of Thragg, Viltrums final boss, man. Let's go ahead and get into this video. Let's go.
Why is everyone so nervous about fighting this Thragg guy? No way he lives up to the hype.
A few moments later.
I got this!
Your life literally is as valuable as a summer ant. Your life is nothing. You serve zero purpose.
Zero.
What are you here for? To worship me? Kill you.
Deserve. That motherfucker always put my damn nerves, bro.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, y'all already know what time it is. Court is now in session because it's time for a trial. And it is for none other than the crispiest Viltrumite in the galaxy. Viltrum's final boss, Grand Regent Thragg. So, y'all already know how this works. We got the evidence and it is ready to be presented. And my God, I gotta say this is some of the most damning evidence a character has ever had. So, without further ado, Exhibit A. All right, let's get down to business. Exhibit A, Thragg's rise to power and his multiple atrocities. Now, we actually got a glimpse of Thragg's backstory right here. And just from this backstory alone, you could already tell that Thragg was a crazy ass nigga because this man is responsible for multiple horrible atrocities. So let's start off with example one. This one planet was trying to start a rebellion because they were fed up with the Viltrumites' rule. So they decided to blow some shit up and retaliate. So the Viltrumite higher-ups, or Argall's council, whatever the hell you want to call them, had a meeting to discuss of what they should do about this rebellion. Now, Krieg and Thetis were basically arguing the whole time because Krieg straight up proposed that they should just decimate the whole planet to show the strength of the Viltrum Empire and strike fear into the species that was trying to rebel. But Thetis, on the other hand, proposed that they shouldn't decimate their planet because the Viltrumite rule over this species was cruel and inhumane. And he thought that since this species showed some type of pushback against their oppressors, that it was an act of strength and Viltrum should respect it because their main core value was strength. Now, while they kept yapping, Argall decided to shut both of them up. Then he asked Thragg, "Young nigga Thragg, my crispy apprentice, what do you think we should do about this minor inconvenience?" And Thragg straight up said that these creatures were so weak that their weakness was an offense to the natural order of the universe. And we should educate them on why they're so ass. And after hearing Thragg's rant, Argall was like, "Now that is why you are my right-hand man. Tax them niggas 25% of their population." This man Thragg is responsible for this race losing 25% of their population. A quarter of these niggas was wiped off the map because Thragg thought they was weak as hell. Now, let's move into example two. His first day as Emperor. Now, after Argall got assassinated and took a big-ass shank to the skull from Optimus Prime, they had a massive funeral for this man, and it was broadcasted across the entire planet. So after Thragg was done giving the eulogy, he does what is quite possibly one of the craziest things a leader could ever do. He said that there is a sickness in our society, and it needs to be cut out. So he points at this melanated brother behind him and asks him, "You, do I look fresh today?"
I like it, cut G.
I don't believe you. He decapitated this brother for no reason at all. He chopped his head clean off to make an example out of him. So after he just murdered this dude in front of everyone, this man gets on the mic and says, "As my first command as Grand Regent, I, Thragg, hereby officially announce the first ever Viltrum Culling Games. Seek out every single sorry-ass nigga in our population and eradicate them. Purge every weak nigga from our population." So after Thragg gave this speech, all hell just broke loose across the entire planet, and the Great Purge began. Viltrumites just started killing each other off one by one, so they could weed out every person person they considered weak. And it wasn't just the adults
still
doing
wanna
it
see
too. It
how
was the
many
kids
niggas
as well.
Omni-Man
Look at
can
them
last.
jumping this little nigga. Bro got jumped by 3 other kids that got stomped out to death. This was just straight up horrific. And I'ma keep it a beam. This had to be one of the worst ways to ever find out who was weak or not. Because what this was a battle royale. Anything could happen. You could literally get cheap kills off of niggas for third-partying another 1v1. They could be 10 times better than you. Or you could literally wait until their 1v1 was over and they were at half HP. And just come behind them and sneak their ass. Like,
Boy,
this
he
shit is
punched the fuck out of
stupid.
him.
And God forbid a nigga ran into a motherfucker like Conquest. Because that was just instant death. It didn't
Love
matter
of the
how
game.
strong you were if you ran into that nigga. That is just
Love of
straight
the
up
game.
bad RNG. And at the end of this purge that Thragg started, it led to half of their population getting wiped out. Billions of Viltrumites died because of this purge. And those billions of bodies are on Thragg's head, because he literally commanded them to do this. And now we're at our third major atrocity. And that was his invasion on Telescria. This nigga pulled up in a big ass Star Destroyer and started burning this city to the ground and destroying everything. Millions of innocent people were getting boomed and vaporized, while this man was just sitting in his ship and looking down on all this death and destruction. And there is a high probability that this man would have probably just scorched the whole planet if Mark and friends didn't destroy his ship and make him tweak out about losing Argol's skull. But I think that we can all agree after looking at these 3 atrocities that this man Thragg is just a straight up space tyrant, because there is nothing more that this nigga loved to do than conquer civilizations and spread bloodshed wherever he went. Exhibit B. All right. Exhibit B. Putting the fraud allegations to rest. Man, oh man. The amount of people that were calling Thragg a fraud before episode 7 was just flat out insane. Like, we're now in an era where if a new character ain't doing some shit like ore farming or putting belt to ass to niggas in the first 5 minutes of their screen time, they're putting them on fraud watch. People were actually calling him a fraud before he even threw his first punch. Now, if you were a part of the crowd that was calling Thragg a fraud before all this happened,
it wasn't
all is
me.
forgiven. As long as you sign this document and turn it in by the end of the trial. Now, everyone should have known Thragg was all about that action the moment the coalition pulled up to Viltrum, because they pulled up searching for this man just for him to meet them at the front door. Bro said, you ain't even gotta search for me, gang. I'm right here and I'm ready to throw down. So Thula comes from behind and sneaks Status in the back, and all the other Viltrumites end up surrounding them, because Thragg set up an ambush because he knew they were gonna.
I use you know, progress of elimination. I use the evidence that was stood against me. You feel me? This is how I came to the conclusion that this nigga was actually like that. Conquest wouldn't follow or take orders from niggas who was weaker than him. I mean, like, Conquest wouldn't even talk back to this nigga. Like, I'm like, this nigga's like that. He has to be like that. This nigga's like that.
Gonna try to track him down and kill him on Viltrum.
Why is it Conquest Grand Region? If that was the case.
So he sicks his minions to start jumping the coalition, while he just straight up sat back and watched them fight the whole time. This dude didn't even bother to move from the spot he was in till Space Racer shot his Infinity Ray at him. And all he did was move back a couple of inches. This man didn't give a flying fuck
I didn't know he
about a
moved back
laser
at all.
that
I
would
thought
one-shot
this nigga
him. He just straight up had the confidence to know that that shit wasn't hitting him. So the first person to actually try to fight him was Omni-Man. So Nolan flew in and tried to hit him, but all Thragg did was move back a couple of inches again and make Nolan hit straight air.
God,
Then Thragg flew above him and winded up a punch from the heavens. And if you take a look at Nolan's face right here, you can tell that he is clearly thinking,
damn, he really about to rock my shit.
Turn that nigga into
Thragg punched this nigga Nolan so hard he turned into a living, breathing meteor and made him crash all the way down on the surface of Viltrum. So after Thragg hit Nolan with a stage change, Thragg came down and tried to hit Nolan with some good old talk no jutsu. He was telling him, Nolan, big dog, come home. Why are you fighting for these sorry-ass, weak-ass niggas? Thetis' sorry-ass killed our emperor and brought us to damn near extinction, and you wanna align with that Autobots roll-out sounding-ass nigga? But Nolan tried to tell Thragg that he was a changed man now, and he was done sipping from that Viltrum Kool-Aid to be a brainwashed space tyrant. So after Nolan tried to get Thragg to stop and surrender, Thragg looked at Nolan dead in the face and said, oh, Nolan, How far you fallen? Looks like that earth coochie really made you a soft ass nigga. So Thragg winds up a punch that was so strong it created a vortex. And he hits Nolan with a Shoryuken from hell that sent Nolan flying all the way back up into the stratosphere. So after Nolan got sent back to outer space, the next person that tried to step up was everyone's favorite useless purple punching bag.
Well, I'm so glad he hit the fuck out of Arm. They told your stupid ass. They told you. Nolan told you, yo, don't fight this nigga by yourself, nigga. Mark told you, do not fight him by yourself. Don't run up on this nigga by yourself. What the fuck your little ass do? Run up on him and get your dumb ass crippled. You probably won't be able to talk.
Now, before we observe what happens to this half-insect buffoon, I want y'all to hear exactly what Oliver says 20 minutes before this fight starts. Roll the clip.
Why is everyone so nervous about fighting this Thragg guy? No way he lives up to the hype.
Now, as we can see, Oliver is basically representing everybody that put Thragg on fraud watch.
Sign that
He
paper,
himself
little nigga.
was not
Sign
believing in
that
all the hype. Even after his dad straight up told him, however strong you think you are, Thragg is stronger. But Oliver, being a hard-headed ass nigga and not listening to any of the warnings about Thragg, ended up being on the receiving end of one of the most brutal scenes in the series. Oliver flew in to punch Thragg, but Thragg stops him with one hand. Then he crushes Oliver's hand and grabs him by the arm when he tried to get away. And you can see it in Oliver's face when he finally realized that he fucked up and he should have listened to his pops the whole time. But it was all too late for him. Thragg backhands Oliver so hard his jaw falls off and his left arm got snatched. Ah, man. Attempted murder and tack on the child abuse. This nigga Oliver is the most useless person on this squad. He was a waste of space. And I already know some of y'all gonna be like, but CJ, what about Tech Jacket? You see, at least Tech Jacket knows her role. Sit in the back line, shoot your Viltrumite debuff darts at him, and get your assist. She's being a good support character. Oliver, on the other hand, is that one brain dead DPS on your team that goes into a fight alone, dies, and asks where the team was at as he's feeding the other team. This nigga is just straight up garbage. This little nigga was talking crazy as hell, all for him to get his jaw broken off and not being able to talk again for the foreseeable future. Fucking trash can, bro. So after Oliver got humbled by Thragg, Mark tried to rush in on Thragg with a rage boost, all for Thragg to flash him with one of the craziest impact frames of all time, then stopping his punch with his hairline. Then after he showed Mark his fresh lineup that he got right before this battle, he gives him a left and a mean-ass gut check, then grabs him by the neck and pip slaps him out of Viltrums.
That was unnecessary. You did not have to do that nigga like that. You did not have to do that nigga like that.
Check, then grabs him by the neck and...
Nigga, why you doing him like this, Thragg? Oh my God.
Pip slaps him out of Viltrum's orbit. Look at the impact frame of this man getting the shit slapped out of him. He slapped the taste out this nigga's mouth and made his whole head do a 180 before his whole body got put in reverse. Not gonna lie, gang, just for this, I'm giving him an extra attempted murder because this pimp slap was uncalled for, bruh. So damn disrespectful. Then after he pimp slapped Mark, he flew up to my glorious King Battle Beast, rocked him in his jaw, then grabbed his jetpack, then threw him to a whole other solar system because—
Hey man, sources say this nigga is still flying. Sources say Battle Beast is still flying throughout space right now. This nigga is still moving. He's still flying, gang.
We don't see him again for the rest of the fight. Just for doing that to my goat, that's attempted murder. Cause throwing Battle Beast like a toy into deep space is actually insane. So since everyone was getting dog walked by Thragg, they decided the best thing to do was to just destroy the whole planet. So Space Racer shot his Infinity Ray at the planet, and Mark Nolan invaded.
Now I don't believe this was smart. I don't believe this was smart. I believe y'all took it a little bit too far. I'm gonna be honest with you. Me personally, I believe y'all took it a little bit too far. I was like, no. You could try to convince him without destroying. Why y'all had to destroy the planet though? Like, come on, bro.
Fly into the planet's core and blow it up. So after these three blew up the planet, this sent Thragg over the edge. This man looked directly at Thetis, locked onto—
When I saw that nigga crying, I knew it was up.
His target like he was a heat-seeking missile and ripped Thetis' head clean off of his shoulders. Ladies and gentlemen, that was just straight up murder. They just didn't even get a chance to react. All he saw in his last moments was Thragg's crispy ass hairline, blitzing him at mock speed. Then he displayed his head to everyone, then crushed it into mush while telling everyone they're next. So after he sent Optimus Prime back to the Bayverse, he grabs Nolan with no hesitation and just starts to lay the smackdown on this nigga. While Nolan couldn't do anything, he couldn't fight back at all. Thragg then low-key started hitting Nolan with the Superman Injustice 2 super move, just yo-yoing his body with punches. Then Mark came in and tried to help out, but he gets punched in the throat and he can't breathe anymore. So Nolan tried to attack, but he gets his wrist shattered. Then when Mark saw Thragg flying towards him, his fight or flight senses kicked in. Cause Mark hit the jets and just tried to skedaddle, but Thragg was chasing him and he was on his ass. Look at the expression on Mark's face right here. This is the face of a man who is terrified and is running from death itself. So Thragg grabs Mark and starts giving him ferocious back shots. Then after he finished giving Mark back shots, he had him hoisted up and he was about to end this man's existence right here. But Nolan comes in and saves Mark at the last second. So after Mark got saved, Mark asked, "Dad, how do we beat him?" And Nolan looked back at his son and said, "Son, we're cooked." Lord have mercy, Thragg gave Nolan the Viltrumite special technique. That is just flat out attempted murder. Then Thragg grabbed Mark by the neck again and gave him a headbutt that was probably heard around the cosmos. Then he started to squeeze.
Destroyed a couple of planets.
His head, and he was going to crush Mark's head just like he did to Thetis. But at the last second, Thragg decides to stop because he realized that too much Viltrumite blood has been spilled. So he lets Mark off the hook and leaves him for dead in space with his father and his brother. This man Thragg shut those fraud allegations up real quick, cause he just straight up wiped the floor with everyone. Omni-Man got left with his guts hanging out, Mark got put into another coma, and Oliver had to get put in a Bacta tank with a new shiny mechanical jaw and a prosthetic arm to go with it.
Oh my god.
Exhibit C. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached our third and final exhibit. Exhibit C, PTSD and holding Earth hostage. Now after—
Bro, this nigga gave this man like Cora levels of PTSD. Or I don't know if it was Cora levels. It might have been my fucking water keep falling over. I don't know.
Thragg put belt to ass to the coalition and left the whole family for dead in space. Mark thought they were going to go to Earth and destroy everything. So when Mark finally recovered from the beating that Thragg gave him, it is revealed that Mark got his ass beat so bad, he got PTSD. But not just your regular PTSD. This nigga Mark got specifically post-thragmatic stress disorder. Not gonna lie, I think we haven't seen a case of PTSD this severe since Slade did this shit to Robin. Cause Mark was tweaking out so hard he was seeing things just like Robin was. So let's go through some of the examples real quick of how severe this actually was. Example 1. Mark finally comes back home to see his mother for the first time after the war. So this was supposed to be a
here got me.
Heartwarming moment, but it goes south real quick. While Mark was talking to his mom, he looked away for like 1 second. And when he turned around again, he sees Debbie getting choked out by Thragg. And Thragg tells him, "This is the smallest repayment for what you did," and rips Debbie's head clean off. I'm not gonna lie, this shit got me for a quick second. Cause this happened so fast it felt like a jump scare. Bro really thought for a second that he saw his mother get her head ripped off before he finally snapped back into reality. But this was only his first post-thragmatic stress disorder episode, because there were more to come. Example 2, Mark and Eve were having a very important conversation about how life's been for her since Mark left. And she was about to give him the whole lore dump of what all happened when he left. So right before she was about to tell Mark that she was pregnant, she gets her head snatched by Thragg. And Thragg starts to hold her up above Mark and tells him, "You took away what I loved. Now I'm taking what you love, little nigga." So he starts to gouge her eyes out and crush her face. Then her other eyeball ends up popping out of her head before he finally kills her in front of Mark. Then throws her lifeless body right back at him. This nigga Mark was going through hell. He was living a nightmare because he couldn't tell if this was real or not. Eve had to snap this man out of the genjutsu that he was stuck in because he was actually stun locked. Now, let's observe example 3. Mark is given the debrief to Cecil about the war and was low-key about to ask him for a therapist. Now, while their conversation continued, Mark closed his eyes, and the moment he looked back up, he sees Thragg giving Cecil the Viltrumite special move. And while he had his body lifted up, he told Mark, just to let you know, I'm still in your head, and not even therapy can repair the shit I did to you. Then he throws Cecil's lifeless body to the side like trash. And after this, Mark just started hyperventilating, because he was having a panic attack mid-PTSD till Cecil finally calmed this nigga down and brought him back to reality. So after Mark went through like 3 post-thragmatic stress disorder episodes, Mark decided to go on a flight to clear his head. And while he was out flying, he sees Thragg again. So Mark, thinking he's having another episode, closes his eyes and starts to think in his head, this is not real, this nigga's not here. This is not real, this nigga's not here. This is not real, this nigga's not here. So when Mark opens up his eyes again, Thragg was still there, and he told him, yes, little nigga, we indeed are here. And this was when Mark finally realized that the Thragg standing in front of him was indeed the real Thragg. So Mark starts tweaking out and begins to hit Thragg over and over again. But Thragg just took all of this with no reaction, then palmed Mark's face and threw him back to where he started. Then Thragg told him, stop, little nigga. I didn't come here to fight. I came here to talk. So Thragg gives this man a little smile, then tells Mark, here's how this is about to go down, little nigga. You took our home, so now we're taking yours. So from this day forward, we, yes, we will be using Earth as a breeding ground to repopulate our forces and rebuild our empire. And don't worry, they've already started. Krieg done cracked like 6 of your Earth holes already. That one-eyed motherfucker's having the time of his life right now. And Lucan is already famous. He's been hosting this show called Family Feud under an alias name, Steve Harvey or some shit. But that's besides the point. What you need to know is this, little nigga. You're going to let us coexist with you. And if you don't, we will rip this planet in half. Also, I will need to acquire the location of your planet's best barbers. Their services will be needed. So Mark has to agree because he basically has no choice. And Thragg officially takes the entire planet of Earth as hostage and turns it into a Viltrumite breeding farm. The verdict. Ladies and gentlemen, after observing all of this evidence and tallying up this long list of charges, this is a pass with flying colors. This man Thragg belongs in the elite category for menaces. He pulled off this list of charges in 3 episodes, gang. That is like a new record for Charles or some shit. And this is just the tip of the iceberg because the files on this man are going to continue over the years. So with that being said, hope y'all enjoyed. And until our next trial that is coming up very soon, I bid y'all farewell.
Another W video from CJ, man. Hey, y'all, the original link will be down in the description. Y'all make sure y'all go check out this video, man. I appreciate if y'all like and subscribe. I'm going to catch y'all in the next video. Deuces.